What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Strength for Your Purpose podcast. Yeah, we got a little production value going on here. I couldn't resist. I got a new setup here. So if you're watching on Zoom, you notice that the mic's not right in front of my face. I got some new headphones going on here. So my buddy Travis from Carpack Audio came up this past weekend and hooked me up with setting up this new system that I have. And I am so excited because it has stuff like this. So when a guest does something incredible or when we introduce the show, we can throw a little applause in there, I guess, if we want to. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, for listening. Really happy to be here with you, and love all the feedback we get on this. A lot of great interaction on some of the social media posts, and as always, we really appreciate those 5-star rate and reviews wherever it is that you listen to these podcasts. And on YouTube, obviously really appreciate the subscribes and hitting that notification bell so that you know when these new episodes drop. So today doing another solo episode here, and wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been talking to a lot of my clients about recently. And I titled this episode, "What the Shneck?" Some of you might have heard me talk about the Shneck before, which is this just general area in the neck and out into the shoulder. And it kind of sometimes our Shneck pain in that area extends down the arm a little bit, but wanted to talk to you about the different things in that area that could cause pain in that area. Because in our bodies, whether we're talking about our Shneck area or whether we're talking about our back, hip, legs, pretty much anywhere, where you feel the pain does not necessarily mean structures right in that spot are the root cause of that problem. Okay. So the number one reason why I see people get passed around from provider to provider without really getting the help that they need as soon as they could get it is because of not having that whole area and all of the possible causes of that pain examined closely enough from the get-go. Okay, so we could use a bunch of examples here, but let's hone in on this Shneck area, as I like to call it. The major structures that are going to cause pain through the side of your neck, out into the top of your shoulder, and even down in the top of the arm are either nerves that are being irritated in the neck or in an area that we call the thoracic outlet. So the thoracic outlet is from the muscles on the side of your neck out through to your pec area. So that area from the neck through the shoulder and out toward the edge of your chest before those nerves go down the arm. Or you could have structures in the shoulder causing that problem. Issues with the joint where your collarbone meets your shoulder blade. They're called the AC joint. If you ever heard someone with a shoulder separation, that's where that comes from. Could be the rotator cuff, which the tendons of your rotator cuff sit right underneath that arch that's created by that joint at the collarbone that we just talked about. And that is a very common source of pain that can be right in the shoulder itself and down the arm a little bit as well. So depending on where that pain is and depending on what activities make it worse, what activities make it better, how the pain started initially, all of those things have an effect on what structures might be involved. But the reason why that can be difficult is because whether it's a soft tissue or a joint injury in the shoulder itself and structures in the shoulder itself or nerves, some of the activities that we do will make either of those hurt regardless. Okay. So prime example, if we have pain at the kind of the top of our shoulder and out into the upper arm a little bit, so kind of radiating down over the shoulder and into the upper arm a little bit, that area could be more painful simply by just moving our arm overhead. Okay. That could be true for tendonitis in the rotator cuff or a tear in your rotator cuff. It also could be true for nerves, because every time we move a limb where those nerves travel, those nerves have to slide and glide through all of the channels that they run through, and that could be irritating as well. So even though moving the arm, you think, well, we're using muscle to move that arm, so it must be muscle, but we could be irritating that nerve because we're sliding and gliding through that nerve a little bit. And that is also causing some potential irritation because those structures are tight that nerve is sliding through, or whatever the case might be. So that's where teasing that out comes into play. And that's where seeing a provider that can identify those differences or help you identify those differences through the types of examination that they do is going to be beneficial. So the that's the tricky part is a lot of specialties out there very much because of their high level of expertise in a certain area are going to look heavily into that area. Okay. So if you wind up at an orthopedic surgeon's office for general shoulder pain, they're probably going to be looking hard at the rotator cuff, and they might find something. They truly might. They truly might, because a lot of people walk around with rotator cuff tears that don't have pain. Those eventually do become painful in a high majority of people, but a lot of people walk around without pain with active rotator cuff tears. So good hints for you to know where to go and where to get the help. Number one, if you have some people you're working with telling you that it's a shoulder problem and only a shoulder problem, but the pain is radiating past your elbow, probably not a shoulder problem, probably not just a Shneck and shoulder problem. That probably is, in my experience, nerve related. Another thing that can be an indicator that it's more than just a shoulder problem going on is that the pain actually goes up past the shoulder and up into that side of the neck area. That usually, even if it doesn't go past the elbow, on top of that, any numbness and tingling is not usually associated with only a shoulder problem. There might be some shoulder things that need to be worked on, but that nerve needs to be looked at too. The other thing is if head and neck motions affect the pain in your Shneck, shoulder, or arm, that is much more indicative of a neck and nerve problem than a shoulder problem. So I hope that made sense. I wanted to talk through that a little bit because it's kind of something that applies to anywhere in the body, that just because you have pain in that one spot does not mean that's the thing. Like right underneath my finger where that pain is the structure that's causing the pain. And I think sometimes due to whether it's, again, a high level of expertise in a certain area where the pain looks like a certain thing, but it's really something else, or whether it's just the wrong areas being examined because of the that person doesn't necessarily have the time with you to examine all of those things. There are a lot of things that go into it, and not pointing blame at any one person, but these things can be tricky. And there are certain providers out there that are really well trained in picking up on those differences. And that's part of what I do as a physical therapist. So I like to get this information out there for people, because I have way too many people that I've seen throughout my career who have gotten sort of strung along over the course of, could be weeks to months or longer. And it's not until we figure out the intricacies of that problem and actually start treating the root cause of that problem that we get down to the bottom of it and actually fix it for them. And conservative treatment is usually quite effective for those things. It's much easier if we get to it sooner, though. So that's why I like to get that information out there to people, so that people don't get strung along, passed along in the system, getting imaging they might not need, getting medication they might not need because it might not even help, because they're getting medication for pain medication for something, for a structure that isn't even the problem. And just looking at a combination of how you're moving, what causes pain, how you're not moving, how that can contribute to pain, and where the imbalance of stressors on that area are lying, and determining the actual structures that are involved, which we can do without imaging. We can definitely do without imaging, is important to making sure that you're getting better faster, getting back to what you want to be doing faster. So that's all I had to say. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to reach out. All my contact information is in the show notes here. I'm happy to help you answer any questions that you might have about that. And just make sure you're reaching out to a provider that you trust for these things, and make sure you're asking these types of questions if you're in front of someone with a certain area of discomfort, and want to make sure that you're covering all your bases. So that's all I had for you today on this episode of the Strength for Your Purpose podcast. I hope you have had a fantastic week. Hope you're going to make a great week coming up. Go out there and make it a great week coming up. And as always, please be a friend and tell a friend. Share this with someone you know, love, and care about, who might benefit from this information as well. We just want to get this information out to as many people as possible. So until next time, thank you all very much for listening. Thank you for the 5-star rate and reviews, the subscribes, the likes, the comments, the shares, all that good stuff. We really appreciate the support. And we will see you back here next time on the Strength for Your Purpose podcast. I couldn't resist. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.